G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Off Ukraine War Update for the 5th of April 2026. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, and as I continue to bring the news, I am constantly under attack by pro-Ukrainians who actually refuse to watch my videos and do not even seem to be aware that live Ukraine map is Western, that Pravda is Western. This is the problem in the world today. The arrogance of ignorance, the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they cannot handle news that does not fit their political narrative. And if you think that this is Ukraine winning, then you are a fool. If you think this is a threat to Europe, you are a fool. If you think Russia is a serious threat, look at Iran and America with just a handful compared to, right, the amount of aircraft that America could bring to bear. Just think about the number of aircraft Europe could bring to bear. Now, Zelensky does not understand what the tactical response would be from Russia. Russia would weigh up how much of Ukraine it will destroy before it withdraws. And it would be all of it. I honestly, does anybody think any day anymore? And of course, I'm not insulting my audience. I hope I'm not insulting my audience. But if you checked out, that obviously means you're the spanked monkey and took it personally rather than assessing that I'm talking about the fools who comment repeatedly on social media. Now, for some reason, they know their comments are not tolerated on YouTube. Now, I thought this was strange, but true. Facebook has a greater tolerance for insults than YouTube. Personal attacks are rarely tolerated on YouTube, not just attacks on protected classes. So people routinely make protected attacks. Of course, they create profiles as a woman or a person of color. But even then, personal attacks are not tolerated. Okay, calling me a Russian bot is not going to stop the Russians. My videos are routinely banned in Russia, by the way. So I don't know where you get your attitudes from, but there's a organised group on the left based in Canada who are Ukrainian, who routinely attack videos that don't repeat the Ukrainian narrative. The problem with these people is they're protected. They think that somehow they've got to protect Ukraine. Well, leave Canada, go protect Ukraine. No, they're cowards. They're supremely cowardice. They want us to go to war for them. You heard Keir Starmer's war. He's not talking to war talk. You've heard Germans' war talk. They're not talking about Iran. They're lying to you. They want you to go to war. They want consent for war in Ukraine. It will not end well. Millions will die for the arrogance of Keir Starmer, Zelensky, and Merkel 2.0 and Macron. Funny how the left complain about no boots on the ground, no more wars, and yet here they are supporting the Ukraine war instead of ending it. The war in Iran. Isn't it amazing? They call Trump Taco, which means Trump always chickening out. Yet, when he is at war, they want him to chicken out. It's like the left, you can't hate them enough. They are nothing but immature, civilization-ending contrarians. They always want to be the outsider. They always want to be always be the outsider, the special kid, the privileged. They always have to go against what normal people want. They always want to be different. They always want to stand out. All right, enough about the morons. They are a blight. Evil has to be resisted at all times. So it is. Russia has taken territory. They've expanded the buffer zone, though they have not retaken Kupiansk. They've had a few successes on the battlefield. They've had some small but not really significant gains on the Seversk-Chavez Yar front, not much. They've had some gains here on the Kupiansk, from Chavez Yar, Kosakovia, all the way through Deep Anilia. The Russians have had small advances, but they have not taken any significant towns. They are, however, in... notice Ukraine's taken its English name off. Yeah, they change this map often. They won't update the situation in Roddy, but there is street fighting there. They're in this town. They're moving up. They've advanced. They've advanced in Hainishny. They've taken more of Hainishny. That's a significant town. They haven't taken all of it. They've overrun the Ukrainian base here. The Ukrainian counterattack failed. They came down the rail line to only find out that Russians were waiting for them. That Russia has multiple lines of defences. And the Russians have made advances, not much. Yeah, and now we get to the stalled part, where there is a few stalled areas of the front, and only minor gains in Zaporozhye. I think, though they said, they only said east of Hurupol, which is, they didn't say exactly where it was. Now, there's been drone strikes. Now, Odessa was hit, according to Ukraine Pravda, and Kharkiv, Sumy. Now, there were 10 strikes recorded, according to Ukrainian Air Force. According to their numbers, over 100 drones were launched. Now, recently, declassified film has come out of an airstrike. Now, the general consensus is this is 2025. So I've been looking up. Multiple F-16 fighters have been lost in Ukraine. And it does line up that so-called crash reports of F-16s, and yes, face significant threats from S-400s. There's a high risk and there is a high attrition rate of aircraft. Now, they have admitted, according to the BBC, there was an F-16 destroyed in a Russian attack in 24, and there was another one destroyed. Now, this is the one where they said it caught fire. This was June 25. This may be that attack. Now, the Russians released this through the Ministry of Defense. You see their logo, but it was through the Russian Telegram sites, which see, it's all in Russian. They're showing the strike from various angles. And now, these are all alleged strikes. There's the Su-27 they admit to have been destroyed, but that in the foreground is an F-16, and there is the F-16 that was one of 6 that have been marked off as destroyed. They said the pilot managed to eject. Well, what happened was he ejected on the runway, apparently. Again, Ukraine is alleged to have been lying, and the BBC, well, they ran the story one day, but it never trended. I wonder why. This is why politics is a problem in society and is going to drag society down, because you cannot accept the truth. This is not an AI-generated photograph. Kinzhal, according to the Ukrainians, was jammed. But here we go. Multiple F-16s lost at 25. They say, while attempting to Russian drones and missiles. The casualty reported. This was the crash that was shot down actually by, well, the plane was damaged by a missile. So that's why we have not got an update and situation, and why there are reports there are only 3 operational F-16s, and the others are being either patched, repaired, or transferred back to the Netherlands. There isn't much more to this. There's right, Kinzhal. This is what happens when you pack 500 kilograms of high explosive into a missile and drop it at short range, because it is its fuel. The fuel is it uses its own fuel as the explosive. It's the only way to get a really, 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 really fast missile, right? Now, Russia, this is it. Nearly 100 drones, hits recorded at 10 locations. Ukraine hasn't updated its own map. They even admit in this article, whoops, sorry. Yeah. 10 locations, drones fell at 3. Yeah, several Russians sitting on airspace. Right, so, yeah. They tell you one story in one newspaper. They tell you a different in Euromaidan. They tell you a different story in Kiev Independent. They don't tell you, like, unless there are multiple stories that overlap and there's some sort of confirmation, most news out of Ukraine can't be trusted. Now, apparently Zelensky has spoken with Erdogan and accepted Erdogan's offer for mediation to create. Erdogan wants lasting peace for Ukraine. Why? Because Erdogan is one of the biggest buyers of food from Ukraine. There are not many countries poorer than Turkey in the region. Now, Scott Ritter, an outspoken figure, US Marine Corps, has routinely spoken to TASS, and he has been accused of many things. Now, people cannot accept that the Soviet Union was an oppression of the Russian people, and that people have mistaken anti-communism for anti-Russian. Why? Because the left commies want to punish the Russians for giving up communism, of course. They see you as failing the revolution, comrades. Now, Poland, on the other hand, wants to grind Russia down because they want revenge for the past. This is the problem in the world. It's either, oh, you pissed in my pond, you didn't blow your nose right, you didn't say 3 Hail Marys after before a meal, The list goes on of pettiness in this world that brings anxiety and angst to people, such as success, right? I know there are people out there who won't watch my videos because they're afraid. They're afraid of the truth. But, yeah, pro-Ukrainian policies. You look at England. They're absolutely giving away billions that they desperately needed to fix the NHS. I'm going to raise the taxes to fix the NHS, then takes money off the NHS to give to Ukraine, as well as the money they raised. Which tells you everything you need to know. They don't know policy. There's no morality, no ethics, no values. I froze this one because Germany's brought back conscription. 3 months. Men can't leave Germany. They got to register. That's pre-conscription. If you don't register, you are jailed. But however, 2 conscription officers were stabbed in Ukraine. This is apparently a daily event, violence across Ukraine, as their campaign to try and recruit more and more men off the streets. Ukrainian recruiters approached a group of men. Apparently they raided a workplace and tried to force men into a minibus, and a scuffle broke out, and the recruitment officers in Vedhesta were stabbed. Just bang. Went in office, bang. Stabbed him several times and fled. Suspect is in violation of military registration requirements. He was being rounded up. Yeah, the military registration. Yeah. Come with us, you have to fill in your recruitment papers. And they drop you off on the front. Good luck. That's your training, by the way. You're dropped off at the front. Videos of often showing bystanders sounding insults at officers. Some of these are routinely banned in the West or taken down as misinformation. But yeah, they're across TikTok. Well, irony, of course, they're getting women to recruit men, trying to get women to recruit men, mostly going into foreign Ukrainian settlements in Poland and Romania to get them to come back, and they're being told to F off. Right? So, war is a women's business as a recruitment poster has failed. It's been defaced. They have people not watching television in Ukraine anymore. They don't read the newspapers in Ukraine anymore. Increasingly, they're just watching music and music festivals, and they see lots of young women partying and drinking and getting free. And this, they show them all the time on TV, women partying and drinking. Of course, those women are, you know what women are doing in those camps. You know what happens when the cameras go off. And those women aren't there by volunteered, okay? They got no choice. You show up, you get free booze, free food. Ukraine is declining so fast. And of course, Europe and has no morality whatsoever. Yet, so-called Russia is our enemy. Now, I'm not saying Russia's... I don't know what's going on in Russia half the time because we don't get real news, right? We don't have reliable sources. We don't have reliable... But people are saying the Russians are increasingly cracking down on prostitution, increasingly telling Ukrainian women that they don't have to sell themselves to Russian soldiers, that Ukrainians are skeptical of Russia, but again, the majority who've left Ukraine spread across 7 million across Canada, US, and 38 other countries. That's a significant population. That's an entire city in the West. It's like 70% of London. Ukraine is done for. And people just won't admit it. It's defeated. Just like Iran's defeated. Just like Afghanistan you could have stayed in Afghanistan. They were defeated. It was the Afghans who didn't want to fight. They put the Taliban in place because Karzai ran away because he was afraid. All of them are afraid. A lot of world governments are afraid. They're weak men. Strong men don't stand a chance again because they're strong individuals. The system is run by strong men, but they put weak men in charge so that they will obey them, not the people. The Ukrainian convoy was allegedly ambushed, and by alleged, I mean Russia brings the receipts with videos, not once, not twice. So, again, why do you think Russia is being constantly labelled disinformation when it's quite easy to find whether or not it's true? Ukraine admits there was an attack in Sumy. These are the Chechens. Akhmat Force, that's Chechnya, Chechen's special forces. They followed two vehicles. They led them to a Ukrainian rallying point, and they struck it with drones. There you can see the footage showing the Ukrainian forest. And there you see the drone strikes coming in on vehicles. Some already hit. Ukrainian convoy. They're bringing in towed artillery. Some old Kinzaks from some of the captured Russian artillery has been towed to Poland and is now being produced by Poland. So Western research at its best. Now, yeah, as I said, these are being retooled into 155s, captured Russian equipment, and they're towed back to Ukraine for use on the battlefield. Now, remember, in 2022, Russia had over 9,000 pieces of artillery and tanks captured by Ukraine. And since then, Ukraine's been carrying out a propaganda campaign and making it look like every year they capture all this big equipment. No, a lot of it now is made in Poland. But here you go. You can see quite clearly people are going to dismiss everything as AI. Well, ridiculous. Now, this is why Russia is fighting. It's important to know why they fight so that you can make up your own mind on how you are going to protect yourself from World War III. Because if we allow Europe to escalate this war and ignore Iran and continue to humiliate America, right, what's going to happen? Europe it's a strange world, but Europe, all it cares about, they're like nagging old ladies. Oh, we made protection, but they won't protect themselves. They're taught about protection of the state. They want America to protect their state, but they won't get. But at the same time, you have Merkel now admitting they brought in all these refugees so that the right would lose elections forever. She admitted it. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. The state's protected, isn't it? You can't sue her. You can't vote her out. She's already out of office. No one will vote against the minions. But the Alternative for Deutschland is slowly gaining, and people are slowly waking up that NATO is not another terrorist organisation. So, now another terrorist organisation, yeah. And America's starting to wake up that NATO never intended to help America. It only intended to use you as a discount. Never intended to pay for their own defence. And had And they relied on the fact that Russia was, they always knew, since the 60s they knew Russia couldn't go to war. They knew already back in World War II. You know where the majority of the majority of Russian tanks came from. They were delivered by America. Big ships. Huge. Bigger than super tankers. With 100 tanks all packed in. Right? Where do you think the car carriers came from after the war? You think they suddenly hundreds of ships sprung up from nowhere? People are so naive. They probably do. But here we go. The security architecture of Europe is not about the NATO bloc, defensive bloc of NATO. It's an expansion bloc as far as Russia is concerned, with 10 waves of expansion, with 7 taking place after the collapse of the Soviet Union, despite the promise not to expand the alliance eastward. Right? So, if a poem on the Statue of Liberty, put there by a Jewish poet from France, who never lived in America, is somehow your foreign policy, then Bill Clinton saying, we're not going to expand NATO, is the same. Right? Why? What? Again, if people are not worth their word, this is why you can't trust liberals. They're not worth their word. They have no honour. They won't honour any agreement. And yet they suddenly want us to honour an agreement about the disarming of nuclear weapons from Ukraine. Yet the reality is Ukraine violated that agreement by engaging in ethnic cleansing of the Donbass, which still today most of the West refuse to acknowledge. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like, share, subscribe. Support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. All I am is about the truth. Just the truth. If Ukraine was winning, I would tell you. If Russia was committing war crimes, the evidence would be overwhelming. All we have is constant smears and accusations where there's no evidence. Nor is there evidence of Ukraine engaged in mass war crimes. There are individual cases, over 1,000 of them, but right now we have no systemic orders other than Zelensky making orders to increase casualties. There is no standing order to kill POWs or anything. These are all done by nationalistic organizations who are hell-bent on destroying Russia. And again, in past videos I've told you there are organizations who embed themselves into other organizations whose goal is to bring about the end of the world. Believe me or not, that's up to you, but there are cults out there who want to bring about the end of the world. And why? Because they're just... Who understands mental illness? Come on, you can't. You just can't. Don't try. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Just accept the fact that there's evil in this world that has to be opposed, and that's our sacred duty. Bye for now.